Hey friends, welcome back to my channel. In the delicate silence between two hearts, sometimes what's unspoken reveals more than 1,000 words ever could. If she's not confessing her love, it may not be because it isn't there. It may be because she's watching, quietly, soulfully, waiting to see if your heart holds the kind of strength that doesn't tremble under uncertainty. You see, love isn't always fireworks. Sometimes it's the quiet endurance to stay when there's nothing promised. Sometimes it's a test written not with ink, but with silence. In this modern world of constant connection, love has strangely become harder to express. We're surrounded by instant gratification, validation at our fingertips, and yet, real emotional intimacy has become rare. And so, some women, the deeply sensitive and discerning kind, will not give their hearts away easily. They won't confess their love outright because they've been broken before. They've seen promises fall apart. Instead, they test, softly, subtly, and sometimes painfully. They test to see if your love can survive the storm of doubt, if your patience can hold space for their silence, if your presence remains even when you're unsure where you stand. This isn't manipulation. It's a defense built by experience, a fortress constructed by the trembling hands of a heart that once loved too quickly and paid the price. And so, if she's making you wonder, if she's pulling back, don't always rush to assume indifference. Sometimes that silence is sacred. Sometimes she's hoping that your love is brave enough to speak even when hers cannot. Marcus Aurelius once wrote, "The impediment to action advances action. What stands in the way becomes the way." In love, too, the resistance, the hesitation, these are not dead ends. They are the very paths through which deeper connection is forged. If you can walk this uncertain path with grace, if you can stay without demanding proof, if you can love without needing to possess, then perhaps in time she'll stop testing and start confessing. So today, we're going to discover 7 secret signs that she's not being distant to reject you, but to measure the depth of your devotion. These are not surface-level tricks. They are soul-deep truths, reflections of her emotional self-protection, and also quiet invitations for you to rise. This video isn't just about women. It's about the way love unfolds for those who have known pain, for those who value their hearts too much to hand them away easily. It's about you, your patience, your strength, your ability to stay soft in a world that hardens people. So if you've ever found yourself wondering, why isn't she saying it? This may be your answer. She's not confessing her love because she's testing yours. Let's go start. Number 1. She creates distance not to push you away, but to see if you'll step closer without being asked. Sometimes love doesn't arrive as an embrace. Sometimes it arrives as space. The kind of aching space that makes you question everything. Where you stand, whether she truly cares, whether she's slowly walking away from you. But often, that very space is where the truth reveals itself. Not hers, but yours. When a woman who feels deeply chooses not to confess her love, she may instead create distance as a quiet test, not of your obedience, but of your emotional patience. She wants to see whether you chase or collapse, whether your affection is conditional or unshakable. It's not about games, it's about protection. A woman who has known heartbreak doesn't hand out her trust like candy. She guards it, watches who tries to cross her emotional moat without trampling her peace. If she senses your love is dependent on ease, on constant affirmation, or on your need to own her feelings, she'll keep her heart locked away. Because true connection to her isn't about who can say the most beautiful words. It's about who can remain steady in uncertainty. She creates distance not to disappear, but to observe. Do you crumble when her affection becomes quiet? Or do you remain kind, patient, curious? There's a kind of man who panics in silence, and then there's the rare kind who grows calm in it. She's watching which one you are. Will you still reach out when she's cold, or will your ego demand warmth first? Will you offer her soft presence, or retreat into pride? These moments are not about tactics. They are sacred invitations to show her that your care isn't transactional, that your love is not a mirror simply reflecting hers, but a flame steady in its own light. Stoicism teaches us not to be ruled by externals, not to collapse under circumstances outside our control. Marcus Aurelius reminds us, you have power over your mind, not outside events. Realize this, and you will find strength. In this moment of emotional distance, she is the outside event. The question is, can you remain centered, kind, and strong even when her warmth is no longer constant? Because if you can, she will feel something very rare, safety. And once a woman feels emotionally safe in your presence, she begins to soften. Not because you demanded it, but because you didn't. That kind of love is powerful. That kind of love is rare. Number 2, she watches how you react to mixed signals, because your reaction reveals your emotional discipline. Love, in its earliest stages, rarely speaks in a straight line. It curves, it hesitates, it blinks uncertainly in dim light. When a woman likes you, but does not yet trust the world with her feelings, she will send mixed signals, not to manipulate, but to measure. She is not playing games. She is observing your nervous system, your emotional threshold. She is gently shaking the structure of your patience to see if it crumbles or holds. To the impulsive man, mixed signals feel like betrayal. He wants clarity. He wants answers now. He wants her to label the connection so he can feel secure within it. But the deeper truth is that some women cannot say, "I love you," until they first see how you respond when love is ambiguous. And that's not cruelty. That's caution. A woman who has suffered betrayal, who has loved too much and been loved too little in return, needs to watch how you act when she's not making it easy, because how you act in confusion tells her who you are in chaos. Mixed signals are a mirror, not a maze. They reflect your emotional mastery, or your lack of it. Do you respond with calm curiosity or impatient confrontation? Do you give her the space to feel her way through her feelings, or do you demand certainty out of your own fear of rejection? She's testing whether your love is strong enough to hold space for her doubt, her fear, her slow, blooming heart. And in that test, you will either rise like a king or react like a boy. Stoicism teaches us that it's not what happens to you, but how you react to it that matters. Epictetus knew that human strength is not found in control, but in composure. So when her words don't match her eyes, when her affection flickers between warmth and coolness, when her texts confuse more than comfort, pause. Breathe. Ask yourself not, what does this mean, but how can I respond from dignity? The man who passes this test is not the one who solves her signals like a puzzle, but the one who does not let them shake his self-worth. He doesn't need to control her expression to validate his value. He doesn't crumble at every unanswered message. He continues to show up as his highest self, not for her approval, but because that's who he chooses to be. This is the moment where she sees whether you are a storm or a lighthouse, whether your love is reactive or reflective. And if you can master your emotions in the face of her confusion, she will see not only your strength, but your worthiness. Because the man who is patient with a woman's uncertainty is the man she will feel safest loving in the long run. So, remember, she's not being cruel when her signals are mixed. She's simply watching the temperature of your soul. Can you remain calm while she finds her clarity? If so, you're not just passing her test, you're proving your depth. And that is when she begins to fall for you, not because you pushed, but because you didn't have to. Number 3, she withholds confession to see if you love beyond validation. There's a kind of woman whose love is not announced. It is revealed slowly, like the moon emerging behind clouds. She doesn't rush into declarations. She watches, she listens, she feels in silence. And the reason she does not confess her love first is not because she lacks it, but because she's measuring something far more sacred: your capacity to love without the promise of return. We live in a time where love often comes with performance metrics. People crave labels, validation, reassurance, proof that their affection is not wasted. But the truth is, the most powerful kind of love isn't the one that's returned instantly. It's the kind that flows anyway, even when the road ahead is foggy. When she doesn't say, "I love you," yet, when she keeps her emotions tucked behind her composed smile, what she's actually doing is giving you the rarest of opportunities to prove that your love is not transactional. She wants to know if your heart is strong enough to love quietly. She wants to know if your masculinity is evolved enough to stay rooted when she offers no words of affirmation. Can you stand firm in your truth even when hers remains unspoken? Can you protect her space, her silence, her timeline without needing it to serve your ego? This is not a manipulation. This is a meditation. She is peeling back the layers of your emotional discipline. She's asking, without ever asking, is your love a performance for validation, or is it an offering without expectation? Because the moment you become desperate for her to say something back, to mirror your feelings, to confess just so you feel safe, that's the moment she sees you love for reward, not for truth. Stoic wisdom reminds us that what is noble is often quiet. Marcus Aurelius said, "The best revenge is to be unlike him who performed the injury." In love, the best response to silence is presence. The best proof of strength is stillness. A woman who withholds her confession is not cold, she is careful. And in that carefulness, she watches if your love changes when it is not echoed. Do you still offer your warmth when hers is quiet? Do you still respect her pace when it tests your patience? She's not testing you because she doubts your love. She's testing to see if it's real. Real love does not collapse in the absence of confirmation. Real love flows without applause. Real love holds space, not as a strategy, but as a sacred way of being. The man who passes this test is not the loudest. He's the one who doesn't need her confession to keep showing up. He doesn't need to hear "I love you" to believe in what he feels. He knows that love, when it's true, can wait without bitterness. It can breathe without fear. It doesn't chase, it invites. So, if she hasn't confessed yet, don't panic, don't pressure, don't retreat, just remain. She is not withholding affection. She is offering you a sacred gate through which only the emotionally mature may pass. If you walk through it with grace, with steadiness, and without neediness, she will know. And when she finally speaks, it won't just be words. It will be a love that has been watching you the entire time. Number 4. She creates distance to observe your depth. Sometimes love doesn't feel like roses or warm rain. Sometimes it feels like distance, a silence that stretches between two hearts, a delay in replies, a shift in energy, and the immediate fear is that she's losing interest, that she's pulling away. But if you listen with your soul instead of your panic, you might realize something else. She is not disappearing. She is watching from afar. She's creating distance, not because she doesn't feel something, but because she feels too much. And now, she needs to know if what she feels is safe to trust. If your affection is merely hunger, or if it's made of something rarer, consistency, character, and calm. In that space she creates, she's asking questions that words could never convey. Will he chase me out of fear, or wait for me out of strength? Will he spiral into insecurity, or will he trust in what we've built? Will his heart remain kind even when mine is quiet? You see, a woman who has depth does not fall easily. She has loved before, perhaps too quickly, and been burned by illusions that wore the mask of affection. Now, she's learned that real love doesn't need to rush, that sometimes the bravest thing a woman can do is pause and see who holds steady in the stillness. This is where the test of your masculine soul begins, because many men feel the need to fix the silence, to pressure her into closeness, to rush to make her feel again. But a wise man, one rooted in emotional maturity and stoic strength, does not fill the space with fear. He holds it with patience. Marcus Aurelius once wrote, "Be tolerant with others and strict with yourself." In love, this means allowing her the grace to take space while you master your own mind. You do not collapse just because her warmth is delayed. You do not become cold just because she needs time. You stay grounded in who you are, loving, present, and whole. When she distances herself, don't ask her to come back. Show her there's something worth returning to. Keep being the man whose silence is not a void, but a sanctuary. A man whose steadiness is not born of arrogance, but from a deep inner calm. This isn't a game of who breaks first. This is a quiet demonstration of your capacity to love even when the wind changes direction. Because if she senses you're only kind when you're being praised or only loving when she's near, she'll see your love is not love. It's dependency. But if she sees you stay graceful in the in-between, if she feels your energy hold her gently even as she walks away, she'll understand. You are not trying to possess her. You are simply honoring her space without punishing her for needing it. A woman who tests with distance is a woman who longs to feel safe. Safe in your energy, in your steadiness, in your absence of neediness. If you pass this quiet trial, not with words, but with unwavering presence, she'll return not just to your side, but to your soul. Because in a world of men who chase, the one who waits without resentment becomes unforgettable. Number 5. She watches. How you handle uncertainty. There's something hauntingly beautiful about a woman who doesn't reveal all her feelings too soon. Her mystery is not a game, it's a shield, carved from past betrayals and unanswered promises. She's not trying to confuse you, she's trying to protect the parts of herself that once bloomed for the wrong hands. So instead of telling you she loves you outright, she watches. Not your words, not your charm, but how you handle the fog, the in-between, the emotional gray zone. She observes how you behave when you're unsure of where you stand. Do you rush to define the relationship to ease your ego? Do you become cold because you don't feel in control? Or do you remain open-hearted even in uncertainty, patient even in doubt, strong even when the path is unclear? A woman who holds back her confession isn't playing hard to get. She's seeking proof that your affection isn't conditional on her reassurance. She's testing whether you are a man of emotional sovereignty, a man who doesn't need her to constantly validate his worth. In Stoic philosophy, there is a virtue called equanimity, a calmness and steadiness of mind, especially under pressure. It is this quality she quietly hopes to find in you. Because in a world where men crave certainty like an addiction, the man who can dwell in ambiguity without breaking becomes rare, radiant, and trustworthy. When she gives you silence, how do you fill it? When she gives you space, do you let your imagination destroy the connection? Or do you let the roots grow quietly, trusting that something real takes time? She's not trying to hide her heart. She's simply watching to see if yours can be trusted when hers is still hidden. A woman like this listens not just with ears, but with soul. She reads the way your energy shifts when things don't go your way. She pays attention to how you talk about other women, how you treat the waitress, how you respond to subtle resistance. And in those micro moments, she's learning something about you that words could never teach. This is not about impressing her, it's about revealing your truth. Because while boys rush love to soothe insecurity, a man holds space for love to unfold in its own time. And that's exactly what she's looking for. She may never say it directly, but her heart is whispering this question. If I take a little longer to trust you, will you still choose to be kind? Most men fail this test because they expect affection to be fast, predictable, and overflowing. But deep women don't pour their souls into untested containers. They wait, they assess, they test not to be cruel, but to be sure. And when they find a man who does not push, panic, or withdraw, but instead walks forward with quiet confidence, they melt. She's not waiting for you to prove you're perfect. She's waiting to see if your love has depth. Depth that isn't shaken by her silence. Strength that isn't built on control. Warmth that exists even when she's not there to ignite it. And if you can pass this sacred, unspoken test, something profound happens. She begins to lower her walls, not because you demanded it, but because she finally feels safe enough to confess that she's been feeling it all along. Number 6. She's waiting to see if you'll stay when it's not easy. Love is not born in moments of laughter and sunlight alone. It is forged again and again in the storm. A woman who withholds her confession of love isn't necessarily unsure about you. She may already feel something tender, something growing, but she's watching to see if you're the kind of man who only shows up when it's beautiful, or if you're the kind of man who stays when it's uncomfortable, unclear, or even messy. We live in an age where affection is transactional, where people ghost at the first sign of friction. In such a world, a woman who truly values her own heart will never hand it to someone who vanishes the moment her smile fades. So, instead of telling you she loves you, she lets life unfold. She lets the late replies come. She lets the misunderstandings happen. She lets you feel, for just a moment, what it's like to not be constantly reassured. Not to punish you, but to see if you can endure love without guarantees. She wants to see if you understand something rare, that intimacy doesn't bloom under perfection, but under patience. That a deep bond isn't built by escaping every hard conversation, but by staying through them. And more than anything, she wants to know if you are the kind of man who chooses presence over comfort, because that is the kind of man she can trust with her truth. The Stoics taught us that virtue is tested in adversity, that the true self is revealed not when all is going well, but when the world seems to push back. This is the essence of her silent test. Will you remain generous when she is guarded? Will you remain consistent when she is distant? Will you remain warm when she is unsure? She doesn't want a man who only loves the parts of her that are easy to love. She's watching to see if you'll love the part of her those doubts, that overthinks, that holds back, not because she wants to stay that way, but because she wants to know she's safe to outgrow it with you. You see, when a woman is deeply emotional, she doesn't just want someone to adore her. She wants someone who has the courage to witness her emotional landscape, the valleys, the shadows, the rain. She needs to know that when the storm comes, and it always does, you won't disappear or shame her for feeling too much. That's why she holds back. That's why she tests. Because the man who passes this test is not just attractive, he is rare. He is the kind of man who doesn't run when emotions get complicated. He listens, stays, and holds the space. And in doing so, he gives her the ultimate permission to stop testing and start trusting. She doesn't need a savior. She doesn't need a fixer. She needs someone who sees the beauty in her hesitations. Someone who doesn't make her feel rushed to fall in love, but chosen every day, even in silence, even in struggle. So if you feel like she's pushing you away, ask yourself this: is she really distant? Or is she handing you the sacred opportunity to prove that your love has the strength to endure her storm? If you stay, gently, honestly, consistently, she will feel it. And once she believes that your presence isn't performance, but devotion, that your love isn't loud, but loyal, she'll stop watching and start blooming. Number 7. She wants to know if you'll love her beyond the need for validation. In a world where love is too often confused with attention and validation is handed out like currency on social media, a woman who holds her love close to her chest is doing something incredibly rare. She's searching for a man whose affection doesn't require applause. She's not confessing her love yet because she's testing yours, to see if it exists without needing constant reassurance or reward. This isn't about withholding affection to manipulate. It's about seeking something real in a world full of performance. Every time she posts a story and doesn't reply, every time she shares something vulnerable but doesn't say, "I love you," she is measuring a man's ability to love in silence, without drama, without chasing, without ego. She is not testing whether you will fight for her with loud declarations or grand gestures, but whether you will honor her quietly, even when no one is watching. Because the truth is, she has likely seen many men perform affection in public, yet fail to show consistency in private. And she's done with being a chapter in someone's ego novel. She wants a man who can love in the shadows, a man who doesn't need her to constantly reflect back his worth, because he already knows who he is, a man who is emotionally sovereign. And this is rare, because we live in a time where so many men have confused attention with affection, where silence makes people anxious, where patience is mistaken for weakness. But a Stoic man, one grounded in his values, not his insecurities, he does not crumble in the face of emotional ambiguity. He understands that real love is not loud. It is often still. He sees her silence not as rejection, but as a moment of sacred introspection. And he doesn't rush her. He honors the slowness, the becoming, the unfolding. She wants to see if your love remains even when she doesn't feed your ego, if you can be kind when she's quiet, if you can be stable when she's unsure, because that kind of love, that is safe, that is rare, and that is exactly the kind of love that makes a woman stop testing and start trusting. There is an old wisdom that says, the man who can sit in silence beside a woman's storm without trying to fix her or run from her will awaken a love she didn't know she was still capable of. That is the love she wants. That is the love she is waiting to confess to. Not because you demanded it, but because you earned it by not needing it. And when she sees that you stayed, not because you needed her to prove something, but because you saw her worth even in the absence of words, her entire heart will soften. Her guard will fall like autumn leaves. She will confess, not with trembling, but with trust, because in you, she will have found what she was quietly searching for all along, not just a lover, but a sanctuary. Conclusion: in the end, love is not a performance to be judged, nor a prize to be won. It's a delicate dance of two souls discovering the quiet strength in each other's silence. The woman who withholds her confession is not pushing you away. She is testing whether you can love her without condition, without performance, and without the need for validation. She is waiting to see if your love is grounded in something deeper than her outward expressions, if you are strong enough to love her even when the world is silent. True love, as the Stoics teach, is not dependent on external validation. It is rooted in virtue, wisdom, and understanding. It doesn't crumble when things get difficult. It remains steady, anchored in inner peace and clarity. And when you love like this, without expectation or ego, when you love like a Stoic, you will earn the love that is real, the love that is quiet and powerful. It's a love that cannot be taken away by silence or uncertainty. It's a love that endures, So, if she is not confessing her love to you just yet, don't rush her. Don't demand her words. Be patient, kind, and unwavering. Prove to her that your love is not a fleeting moment of passion, but a steady and enduring force. Show her that your heart is not fragile, that it is built to last even when the silence stretches on. And when she finally confesses, it won't be because she was tested. It will be because she saw something rare in you, a love that doesn't demand, but that gives freely, without condition, a love that is steady, quiet, and true. If this video resonated with you, if you found wisdom in the words shared here, don't forget to hit that like button, share this with someone who needs to hear it, and subscribe for more deep insights into love, relationships, and personal growth. Let's continue this journey of understanding together.